Working with the Law, 11 Truth Principles for Successful Living by Raymond Holliwell. Contained within this book is 11 principles or 11 laws for creating success. What I've done is I've taken a handful of quotes from each of the chapters of the book, and we're going to get into some lengthy discussion to contribute, no matter where you are in your journey, as a factor for your success. In other words, each of these laws here will reveal to you optimizations, ideas, insights, and perspectives that you can apply and contribute to building your dreams, so bringing forth what you desire in a way that's right for you. Man is a progressive being, a creature of constant growth, before whom lies an illimitable ocean of progress to be navigated and conquered only by development and culture of his inherent powers. We have inherent powers. It is within us. It has always been within us. All power is within us. We only make the interpretation based on past programming or information that we've learned from the outer world that the power is in the outer world. And the more we continue to believe that the power is in the outer world, when we find ourselves in certain circumstances or experiences on the way to creating what we desire, we feel at fear or immobilized or unable to form a decision. Now, the decisions are made via the connection to our inner voice, the world within. All answers are found within, and the further we develop our ability to communicate with ourselves, as in thought in the inner world, the higher the degree of externalization of that empowerment we'll see in the outer world, in a way that people, environment, circumstance appear to be in harmony with us, and we have the greater ability to communicate and behave and act in a way that accelerates our results. The ruling state of mind is made up of various mental attitudes which the individual adopts toward things, events, and life in general. If his attitudes are broad in mind, optimistic in tone, and true to life, his predominant mental state will correspond and exhibit a highly constructive and progressive tendency. So we have states of mind, and the states of mind that we go into is externalized as people, environment, circumstance, and information. These states of mind externalized represent the journey to creating what we desire, or the end result. What we want to do is bring ourselves into the ideal state of mind, which is actually our natural state. Our natural state of mind is in alignment with what we desire to create. The only states of mind that we can experience that are disempowering is based on past experiences and information that we gathered from the outer world that causes us to believe that the power is in the outer world, usually based on fear. He says the evidence of the senses are the only facts that some accept. But now we shall realize more and more that it is what we believe that determines what we shall see. In other words, believing is seeing. We might have made the assumption that whatever beliefs that we receive via the five senses from experiences or interpretations of others are the beliefs that are true. However, they may be true for them, but they may not be in alignment or true and in relation to the success that we desire to create. Thus, we have the power through our thinking to create our own beliefs in the spirit of harmony, benefit for us, others, and divine and evolution that contribute towards the desired outcome. It is our power to think that determines our state of living. As one is able to think, he generates a power that travels far and near, and this power sets up a radiation which becomes individual as he determines it. Our thought affects our welfare and often affects others we think of. The kind of thoughts we register on our memories or habitually think attracts the same kind of conditions. Habitual thinking creates a habitual reality. The outer world is consistent in nature, then our thoughts are consistent in nature. If the outer world is not in harmony and is not in alignment with the desired outcome, then we are bound to that reality or the outer world environment by our thoughts. By evolving our thoughts, our behaviors change, our emotional response to five sensory data changes, and what we attract in our life and where we navigate changes. As a result, our environment changes. If we want to change our environment and bring it more in alignment with the desired environment, then we change our thoughts. If we want to evolve our relationships with others and bring it into alignment with the ideal relationship, then we evolve our thoughts about them and ourselves. What we think about ourselves is reflected on what we think about others. You might think we're thinking about someone else, but really, at the end of the day, we are thinking of ourselves. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world. There is only one mind, individualized as other individuals. However, it's still one mind. And the assumption is that the outer world does not understand the thoughts that you are thinking because you don't express them. However, conditions, circumstance, people, and environment reveals the thoughts that we have with accurate precision. The higher we rise up in cross-reference between the outer world effect and thought within, the greater our level of wisdom and understanding, the greater our ability to see how our beliefs create our reality, and the greater ability we have to tap into our inherent powers and realization that the outer world is changed by evolving our thoughts within. Some think that we must deal with two forces. That is, to attract the good, we must do away with the bad. But this is not true. For example, if we are cold, we do not work with cold and heat alike in order to get warm. We build a fire, and as we gather around that fire, we enjoy the heat that is extended from it and become warm. As we build up warmth, the cold disappears, for cold is the absence of heat. To be warm, we give our whole thought to those things which tend to create warmth. We ignore the cold in thinking, or we exclude it out of consciousness, and exchange it for thinking of heat and bring forth heat. Prosperity and poverty are not two things. They are merely two sides of one and the same thing. They are but one power, rightly or wrongly used. We cannot think of plenty and then worry about the unfavorable conditions that may seem apparent. If it's prosperity that we want to create, we cannot at the same time be encouraging thoughts within our consciousness of poverty that exist even if five sensory data in the outer world reveals it to be so, knowing that this is interpretation based on past beliefs. When we evolve our beliefs about the five sensory data that presents itself to one of contributing towards the realization of prosperity, we begin to look at the outer world different. Obstacles appear as opportunity. Information presents itself that was once misunderstood as now wisdom and understanding from the world within, interpretation in a way that is related to creating what you desire. Resourcefulness happens. We're able to look at time, energy, resources from a different perspective and work with these elements to create what we desire as a result of evolving our thought. By focusing on prosperity, we attract thoughts that are related to prosperity. Ideas, hunches, inspirations, insights, and perspectives are received from the inner voice as we begin to trust ourselves more and develop a tendency to connect with the inherent powers and have it externalized as the conditions to reflect. As long as we allow things to seem real to us, we are putting our energy into it. We are nurturing it. We are feeding it. We are keeping it alive. We are putting our faith into that thing, whether we like it or not, and it must naturally grow, for the law of growth is ever working to produce whatever seed we plant. When we look at five sensory data, the outer world, and interpret it from the same thoughts that we have interpreted from before, we recreate it again. Whatever is impressed in the subconscious mind will be expressed, and if it's the same thoughts, then you will have the same impressions and the same expressions. Upon looking at five sensory data every day and asking yourself, how can we evolve our thinking on the people, environment, circumstance, and information that presents itself, even if it's the same information each day, we receive how within, in the world within, and bring it into alignment with the thoughts that are in harmony with creating what we desire, thus evolving the five sensory data or finding ourselves under the influence or in correlation, as in reflection in the outer world, of those that are in harmony. People, environment, circumstance, and information that is in harmony as a result of the evolution of thought, as a result of switching the thought to the thought that is in harmony and related to the desired outcome. All action is a result of thought. It determines the conditions of life. And to have better conditions in life, we must first make efforts to organize our thoughts. We wish to gain the best in life, but we do not know how to think correctly. If you want your actions to change, then we change our thoughts first. If the actions are in harmony and related to the definite chief aim or the desired outcome, but our thoughts about the actions are one of inharmony, then we change the thoughts about our actions to bring them in harmony, and we'll find ourselves automatically expressing those actions in a way that moves forward from a place of flow to create the desired outcome. Law number 2, law of supply. The law of his being is perpetual increase, progress, and growth. So when one good is realized, another desire for a greater good will develop, and when a higher state is reached, another and more glorious state will unfold his vision and urge him on and on. We are progressively evolving beings. We cannot remain the same. If we remain the same, we actually fall behind. Moving forward is the natural law. Progress and growth is natural law. Therefore, creating what you desire is part of the natural law, because creating what you desire is progress. It's evolution of self. It's evolution of thought. And as a result of creating what you desire, you then receive further instructions for a higher purpose. This is what is meant to say that a person has found their purpose. Perhaps in the beginning they started off with one specific task and see it all the way till completion. Wasn't a major purpose, by all means. But that one task seen all the way till completion gave way to be received by further instructions from the subconscious mind within, connected to the superconscious, of further purposes. And then when seen all the way to completion, another purpose is received, and the individual evolves, and mind evolves. Individual expression of the universal mind, and thus overall the mind evolves, and it's the natural state for the universal mind to evolve. The secret of the law lies in one's consciousness. A man's life consists not in the abundance of the things he possesses, but in the consciousness of that which he has. Man possesses the whole world and all its wealth, yet is only able to enjoy what his consciousness permits him to discern. Evolving thought is a contributing factor to evolving to higher levels of consciousness. Higher levels of consciousness move in a direction of spirit of harmony, benefit for you, others, and divine. Thus, bringing forth what you desire is from a place of higher consciousness in benefit of you, others, and divine, thus evolving the universal mind. Universal mind is constantly evolving from the perspective of the individual, and as a result of the individual's evolution, they gain access to a higher degree of understanding of the effects in the outer world in cross-reference to the cause within via thought. Nature is a prolific producer of blessings, which she gives freely to mankind, ever producing all things for a good and useful purpose. Every individual, therefore, has a natural right to a full supply of every good that he can use or enjoy. If the individual does not feel this way or does not interpret reality this way, then it is programming that they received via the five senses that appears to deny this truth. Upon release of this programming via the subconscious mind, they begin to understand that every individual, therefore, has a natural right to a full supply of every good that he can use or enjoy, and thus begins to create, moves in the direction of having a fuller degree of happiness, joy, and abundance in their life, which is a result of the thinking and evolution of thinking into higher states of consciousness that understands as absolute fact that they are to receive what is rightfully theirs. They're not asking for something that is not. They're asking for the natural full supply that is theirs. Whether he shall lack or possess that which he needs or requires will be largely determined by the use he makes of his present endowment of intelligence and power. If you're not at the level of understanding that the full supply is available to you, then we work with what we have right now, the resources, we value what we have, appreciate what we have, and we work with what we have to evolve our thoughts within, to change our perspective to a higher degree of alignment with these laws by releasing the programming and beliefs and assumptions from past that brought us into states of mind that were disempowering, to then allow ourselves to go into our natural state, which is in alignment with the desired outcome, and then develop a further level of intelligence and understanding of how reality works. The more man grows in true knowledge, and the more he uses his powers in constructive ways, the more good he will create in his circle of his expression, in his own little world. So we grow into higher levels of understanding by utilizing the powers of mind, thought, and inner world evolution in a constructive way, gearing it towards a definite chief aim, a specific outcome. By creating an outcome and evolving your perspectives within, evolving your beliefs within, the outer world begins to change by the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that flow from you, and even ways beyond comprehension reveal itself in the outer world as favorable outcomes or opportunities or synchronicities or the direction forward to create what you desire. This is all done by evolving your thought within. So law number 2 is the law of supply, understanding that there is supply and resources available to create what you desire. We evolve our thinking about supply and bring it into alignment to a higher level of thinking, thus raising our consciousness up to the level of clarity where we are able to see it. Number 3, the law of attraction. The underlying law that regulates supply in the world of effect has 2 important phases. One is desire, and the other is expectation. These mental attitudes represent lines of attractive force. Desire and expectation. The first phase of desire embraces a positive process of attraction. That is, when an individual earnestly desires a thing, he sets up a line of force that connects him with the invisible side of the good desired. Should he weaken or change his desire, that particular line of force is disconnected or misses its goal. But if he remains constant in his desire or ambition, the good demanded is sooner or later realized in part or in entirety. The principle involved is that you cannot long or yearn for anything unless it already exists. If not in form, then in substance, and desire is the motive power for calling it forth into visible appearance or physical effect. Now, it's no use to desire a thing unless you expect to get it, either in part or in full. Desire without expectation is idle wishing or dreaming. You simply waste much valuable mental energy in doing this. Desire will put you in touch with the inner world of causes and connect you by invisible means with the substance of the thing desired. Then, continuous expectation is necessary to bring it into reality in your life. Much like the pull of gravitation in the physical realm, expectation is a drawing force of the mind which acts in the invisible realm. When one has a desire and expectation, in other words, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as Neville Goddard puts it, they begin to draw upon outer world, people, environment, circumstance, and information, as well as ideal reflection in the outer world from the individual as thought, emotion, and behavior to correspond and bring forth the desired outcome. The consistency has to be remained all the way till completion and connected desire plus expectation. Desire plus expectation. Expectation is firm conviction in the outcome, without sway. We all know that many persons desire good things, which they can never expect nor make real effort to grasp. They start out well and may get halfway, but not any further. When they learn to comply with the other half of the process involved and learn to expect what they desire, most of their dreams or wishes will steadily materialize. This is then a revelation about what we need to do on this journey to create the success that we desire. If we go back and realize that beliefs have been assimilated from past experiences and others and programming from the outer world that might not be in alignment with what we desire to create, then we can change this programming within using one of the subconscious mind modalities that I use universally. And upon doing this, we encourage the beliefs that are in alignment, which is going to bring forth a higher degree of expectation, which will facilitate the thoughts that will bring an individual into the state of mind ideal that will reflect accordingly. Again, we meet people who expect things they do not want, but which often come. This proves that expectation is a powerful, attractive force. Never expect a thing you do not want, and never desire a thing you do not expect. Most expectations that are brought forth that are desirable or undesirable are brought forth based on subconscious beliefs. If a person brings forth certain circumstances in their lives upon reflection of programming that they have in their subconscious mind, which is based on past experience, they realize that they are recreating the past. These are subconscious expectations that if an individual wants to no longer experience in their life, needs to be revealed and removed from the subconscious mind within. Should you be oppressed by poverty, hardship, limitation, or lack of any kind, begin now to operate this law of mind and gradually command more and more of the good in the form of better things and improved conditions. It is your right to be happy and free. We attract what we are, and most of what we are is our self-image that is buried deep in our subconscious. It is revealed to us about the thoughts that we have towards ourselves and others. It is revealed by the circumstances and experiences in our life. When we reflect upon the circumstances and experiences of our life and make peace with them, forgive them, and understand that perhaps these are past programming elements that continue to externalize as these conditions, we can go in and change the programming within our subconscious mind and evolve our self-image through one of the modalities, and I'll put a link in the description for the modalities that I recommend. And as a result, our thoughts will change, our state of mind will change, and we'll observe as the outer world conditions change. We must release the idea that it is not our right to be happy and free. This again shows up in our consciousness based on past programming that we have received from the outer world. 3 parts to this law of attraction process he talks about in the book. Interest. The first step to take is called interest. Interest is paying special attention to some object or thing. It is being definitely concerned about someone or something. Interest is tending to see in the outer world what is already existent in one's mind. Things you think of that give you joy, pleasure, wisdom, and satisfaction are interests. The next is attention. To have a high interest is not enough. We must inject this interest into our daily labors. Our attention must portray our interest, and the keener our interest, the more intense will be our attention. It is our interested attention that draws from the outer world such facts as are formed in the mind. As we direct our attention to our interest, this magnetizes our power of attraction, which draws to us much of the same type of our thought. Thus, multiplying our attention. And what we put attention on in the outer world further impresses the subconscious mind and expresses accordingly, and excludes out of consciousness elements that are not related to that desired attention of what we are interested in creating. And the third is expectation. Most of expectation, as mentioned, is within our subconscious beliefs, and thus understanding how the outer world is a reflection of our subconscious beliefs, we can go to work and cleanse our subconscious mind of beliefs of lack of expectation of the desired outcome. The last step we take is expectation. This is an active form of attention. It is attention with intensity. It may be likened to the actions of a cat that waits patiently at the mouse hole. The cat expects to catch its prize at any moment. He expects to get the mouse because he believes he will get it eventually. If the cat did not believe and expect to catch the mouse, his interests and attentions would lack that intensity which is now present. His energies would not be so actively called forth. When you believe in the probability of success in your undertaking, you will experience the keenest interest in your work. This interest is intensified with expectation and anticipation. Through this, you will draw to you the success you are working for. Your expectation must be built up with your interest and attention. It's important then to reflect upon each day of the different subconscious expectations that are in denial of what you desire to create, that are experienced in your interaction, 5 sensory data of people, environment, circumstance, and information. Changing the meaning within and evolving your beliefs to be in alignment with what you desire to create. Understand that this is past programming. There's no need to shame ourselves, guilt ourselves, or bring us into a place of anger and resentment for those, because one of the laws here is forgiveness. We'll talk about that in a moment. We want to release ourselves from the programming, remembering that a lot of times we didn't consciously choose to have those experiences or that information from our past that disempowers us. We now have to make peace with it and release that programming so we don't recreate it again and again and again. Law of receiving. The key to this law, then, is we are continuously drawing into life what we give and expect. Whether we attract good or bad, it is governed by the same principle. You have probably made the remark, "Oh yes, it is just as I expected," and especially when some unpleasant condition or circumstance arose. You invited the condition because you gave out the thought of expecting it. And again, realizing that most of our thoughts of expectation, our beliefs, are in our subconscious. But we can bring conscious awareness on what is within our subconscious by reflecting back at the effect in the outer world and cross-referencing to our thoughts within. When we develop the ability to observe our thinking and our self-talk, we bring forth certain clues that reveal what is in our subconscious mind about our beliefs and our expectation of the undesirable outcomes that we do not want to see brought forth. Giving, which is the first or fundamental law of life, is the first law of all creation. The attitude of getting is the law of life in a congested state or in repressed action. As long as getting dominates a mind, that mind is in a paralyzed condition, being limited in its action in accord with the fundamental law of creation. As we reflect upon while living this life day to day, doing all the things that we do each day, on any kind of emotions that show up where we feel we need something from the outer world, we are able to identify if we have this getting state of mind. Now, the thing about this getting state of mind, or in other words, wanting to get things, is it implies that we have a lack of. And what we have in our thoughts, which is lack of through this getting way of navigating the reality, is further impressed on the subconscious mind and externalized as lack. And we experience lack in our interactions with people, in the information that we receive. We will see more lack-based information. Experiences and circumstances will further reveal this lack or getting dominant state of mind. It is not the state of mind that is in alignment with expectation. He who gives much receives much. To give your best is to receive the best in ratio to the degree of your giving. The reason why so many people receive little is because they give out so little. The reason why a person gives out so little is because they have the getting state of mind that they're identifying, where they feel that they will be complete once they get something from another person, environment, circumstance, and information. And again, all they are impressing on their subconscious mind is lack consciousness, scarcity consciousness, and it will be further externalized. Thus, we move into a higher level of unconditional love. We give because giving and receiving is one. We automatically express and receive the reflection of that expression. In the world of entrepreneurship, we create products and services that are needed and useful to serve others and receive fair compensation in exchange. If there is no fair compensation, then there may be this getting-based programming that is either within our conscious awareness, and we can observe this in our interactions with others, or it's being revealed in the outer world, people, environment, circumstance, or information to indicate subconscious programming from our past that is based on getting state of mind. When the mind of man becomes unselfish to the point of yielding to the law, man has now been born anew, for his attitude towards the law, himself, and his fellow men has changed, and his affairs take on the character of his newness of thought. As we release this lack-based programming within, we operate from the perspective of master mind, benefit for them, ourselves, and divine. Through natural expression, we naturally express the spirit of harmony, benefit for us, others, and divine and evolution. And it externalizes as the reciprocal. That's how we receive. Law of increase. Number 5. Praise is an avenue of prayer through which the spirit law expresses itself. Praise is a broad highway, while all other forms are only feeding arteries. Through this inherent law, when man praises, he opens himself upward and lifts his consciousness to a higher realm and becomes a greater channel to receive the good that is ever waiting to come to him. Now, one of the things that happens when we have a lack or a taking or a getting state of consciousness is we fail to give praise to others, and we fail to realize that when we praise others, we praise ourselves. Instead, what we see is lack in others or inconsistency in others to reveal the lack and inconsistency in ourselves. One of the tricks of the ego is to project onto the outer world, usually people, the elements that exist within the individual consciousness. And the way to release yourself from this is to practice thoughts of praise, words of praise, words of encouragement towards yourself and others. This is a form of increase. By increasing what we put out, based on the belief that what we put out comes back to us, we increasingly put out more and receive more as a result. This is the belief that we instill within our subconscious mind that externalizes accordingly. When one can sing praises in the face of adversity, the adversity will soon disappear. It is not a promise, that is a law. Learn to render praise, to be thankful for the good at hand, and you will have found the magic lamp of spirit. It's the power to look at everything that is within our scope of awareness and understand that it is there for a reason. And even if we don't understand the reason, we could learn to ask ourselves within, connect to our inner voice, and find the reason. elevate our thought and bring us into the state of mind of spirit of harmony, to be able to then understand and evolve our subconscious mind programming within to be one of increase and receiving, which means to release this getting state of mind that externalizes distorted elements in reality that reflect the cause within. Number 6, law of compensation. When you perform your tasks to the very best of your ability, or when you are thorough in your work and you do it well, you infallibly bring out the best there is in you. Otherwise expressed, you grow more capable and efficient. You become better and thereby show your growing superiority. And the law is that he who becomes better will attract the better and be given the greater things to do. Very important distinction. He who becomes better will attract better because the subconscious state of mind is better, and what you put out comes back to you. Crowd out all inferior thoughts by superior thoughts, evil thoughts by good thoughts, ugly thoughts by beautiful thoughts, distressing thoughts by pleasant thoughts, and you will begin to overcome the growth of all negative and confused states of wrong and discord. In other words, learn to think constructively of all persons, all things, all events, and all circumstances. Appraise them from the ideal point of view. As you do this, you will gradually transform your whole existence for the better. Now, as we do this, we evolve in our ability to receive by internalizing in our subconscious mind the law that goes back all the way to the beginning, the law of supply, which is that in consciousness, when a person realizes that they have enough and that all they have to do is rise up their thinking to the point that they realize that they have enough, then they are now excluding out of their consciousness lack or getting. And they're bringing themselves more into a higher degree of expectation, subconscious expectation, belief of expectation. Law of non-resistance. True harmony cannot come from inharmony, nor peace from discord. Resistance fails because it is not in accord with harmony and order, which is the law. A salesman will study the ways and means of selling an article. He will approach a customer and present his product in a careful manner. He will bring out comparisons with other similar products. He will praise his product and show all of its good points, trying all the while to avert any objection or argument in the customer's mind. In this manner, he builds up a positive sales talk and leads his customer to a positive acceptance. He will get the customer to say yes to so many things that before the customer is aware of his action, he is signing a check or a contract. The whole of salesmanship is built on the law of non-resistance. Now, I want you to reflect upon this. In each action, in each process, in each task that we do, we want to ask ourselves, is there any form of resistance in what we're doing? And what does this mean? This resistance is valuable to us because it reveals what we are thinking. It reveals our subconscious thoughts in our emotions and behaviors, in how we feel. And we have the ability to then reflect upon if we are operating from the perspectives of these laws and change the programming within via affirmation, via self-talk, via surrounding ourselves with people, environment, and information that is in harmony with operating from a place of expectation. If a person operates from a perspective of expectation, then they do not experience reactivity or any kind of resistance in part or in whole on anything that they do that is related towards creating the definite chief aim or the outcome. Now, you don't have to be perfect at this, but the higher the degree of resistance that we can remove within, the more we operate with the law, which is in alignment with non-resistance, and move forward from the perspective of these other elements. So we can actually simplify this. You can look at this and say, you have a desire, you have an outcome, you've impressed it on your subconscious mind. You are moving in the direction to creating what you desire. And all you have to do is reflect upon where you are resisting, where you are operating from a place of lack or getting, or any kind of resistance that shows up. This resistance will lead to fear, will lead to reactivity. And fear and reactivity and resistance is not in alignment with expectation. So we want to be in expectation, and the litmus test is, do we have reactivity? Do we have resistance? Are we operating from a place of getting rather than a spirit of harmony? He says, if we go through life fighting, opposing, resisting, arguing, we are bound to meet with many obstacles because the outer world is a reflection of the inner world, and likely become so occupied fighting them that we lose sight of our real objective. In other words, reveal the programming that is within ourselves, which is based on past experiences or past evolutions of our self-image. Whereas if we strive to make little of the obstacle and keep our minds on the objective or the desired outcome, we will reach our goal. If a man resists a situation, he will have it always with him. If he tries to run away from it, like a shadow it follows him, and repeatedly he will meet it again and again. If he ignores the hardness of the condition and fearlessly works around it, he will find a time when that hard condition will have been absorbed and removed. Accept the condition as some evidence of good. Look for that good, and by being acceptable to it, more and more evidence of it appears. The law of forgiveness. Much of our resistance is based on our inability to forgive others or forgive ourselves, which is really past versions of ourselves, which is probably not in alignment with the self-image that we want to identify with and operate from. Everyone must at some time walk the path of forgiveness. We must learn to live this law. It must be important, for the Master taught us there was no hope for forgiveness for the unforgiving. Only as we forgive are we forgiven. Through applying the law of forgiveness, both parties concerned will be lifted from a debt consciousness to a prosperity or a prosperous consciousness, and prosperity and plenty shall abound. If we have not forgiven others in our past, then we have resistance. We do not have the thought processes of increasing. We shall receive accordingly, which is the lack of forgiveness. We shall attract accordingly. And we will have an inability to think ourselves into a state of mind that is in alignment with what we desire to create. Thus, practicing forgiveness makes this entire journey easier. This is a process of evolving the beliefs within. Perhaps these beliefs in the past were ones we strongly identified with, the belief that it was okay to live without forgiving. But what we're really looking to do is create a higher degree of non-resistance, to be in alignment, a higher degree of expectation. And when we don't forgive, we create more resistance within, which externalizes accordingly. Law of sacrifice. First, let us note one simple fact. Something always has to be sacrificed for something else. And by sacrifice, we're talking about the limiting beliefs or belief systems that we had assimilated from the past that brings us into a state of resistance, not forgiving others, operating from a perspective of wanting happiness in the outer world, which is revealed as further externalization of the lack of within. So that's what we're sacrificing. We're sacrificing the thought processes that are not in harmony with the desired outcome. If you wish to become a skilled athlete, an efficient teacher, an expert lawyer, or a beautiful singer, the beginning of such success is first the desire for discipline of your time and thought. If you want that rich, radiant, and worthwhile specialty in living life, the rule is just the same. The highest example of a master is the Christ. In all his work and teachings, he proved that discipline, self-control, and self-mastery ever precede wisdom and achievement. Miss Lincoln had taught his words to little Abraham Lincoln. And it was because Abraham grew into manhood and sacrificed his life of laziness, looseness, and careless meanderings for the straight and narrow way of a disciplined life, governed by thought, of principle and honesty and justice, that caused him to become such a great soul. So what are we sacrificing? We're really sacrificing all that is not in harmony with the desired outcome, all that is not in harmony with the people, environment, circumstance, and information that we want to see externalized in the outer world. And if we don't have it externalized in the outer world, then we have assimilated programming from our past, and that's really what we're sacrificing. The law of obedience. If we are to obey the Spirit within us rather than the conditions about us, then the law requires us to first think things into existence from the within before we shall see them on the without. Most of our experiences are the outgrowth of our own created activities. These created activities are first to be bound in thought that we think in our minds. So thus, obedience really is right thinking, which is continuously evolved through self-talk and conversations that we have with ourselves and others in a level of increase, a higher degree of consciousness-based thinking that is in harmony in relation to the desired outcome creation, because that is how we live the philosophy, and as a result, evolve the thoughts within. And also realizing that much of our thoughts within are governed by past programming that has been assimilated in our subconscious mind, which we can identify and release through cross-reference. When we speak of a man of principle, we mean a man who is governed by the law of right thinking and living, a man who is not easily swayed, a man who will not deviate from the path of what he deems to be right for the sake of personal profit or popular acclaim, a man, in short, whom one may trust absolutely to be true to his convictions regardless of the temptations to change or modify them. No matter where you are in your life, one of the things we have to remember is we have to resist the temptation to sway off course toward our definite chief aim. The definite chief aim is a spiritual commitment. It is your ability to practice and cross-reference with discipline the application of the law. Those that succeed in the application of the law will succeed because it is a law. Those that do not succeed should try again and again and again, because it is the purpose of life to fulfill the law. All that is required of us is to learn obedience to the law of truth, and not to obey the petty things that arise steadily as we allow our visions to be disturbed and harassed. Neville Goddard refers to this as the world of Caesar. Resisting the urge to react to the world of Caesar and stay consistent and persistent, not from a place of force, but rather from a place of expectation, otherwise known as flow, that what we desire will be brought forth. Finally, number 11, the law of success. Man is made for progress. Every man contains within himself the capacity for endless development. Advancement into all things is the law's great purpose. By learning to work with the law in promoting that aim, man may build himself into greater and greater successes. All the processes of nature are successful. Nature knows no failures. She never plans anything but success. She aims at results in every form and manner. To succeed in the best and fullest sense of the term, we must, with nature as our model, copy her methods. In her principles and laws, we shall discover all the secrets of success. Infinite resources are at a man's disposal. Infinite resources are at man's disposal. There are no limits to his possibilities. He focuses and individualizes the elements, forces, and principles of the whole world. He can develop a wonderful intelligence. Thus, all life questions may be answered, all nature's secrets discovered, and all humans' problems solved. Nothing is impossible. Higher faculties, remarkable talents, superior insight, and great power are dormant in all. Okay, going back to the earlier part of our conversation, it is inherent within us. If we do not believe it, then it is past programming that we need to release that denies it. It is not true. What is true is that the greatest power are dormant in all, and by special psychological methods, these exceptional elements can be developed to an extraordinary degree for actual and practical use. Every mind can develop greatness. It is simply a matter of knowing how. True self-help, self-discovery, self-knowledge, and the proper instruction in applying one's faculties and using one's forces will advance any person. Practice will ensure efficiency, will bring forth results. Success, therefore, is within the reach of every aspiring man. The law of success is as definite as the laws of any science. The exact use of this law will produce results every time. It is the results that count, and as results may be multiplied indefinitely by a persistent application of this law, there is no ending to the success you can enjoy. Success is bringing oneself and one's actions to a standard higher than the ordinary human standard. Most all the failures and defeats in life are due to mental blindness. When the heart is right and the head thinks right, all our actions are judged by our inner motives, not by the outer accomplishments. Out of the heart are the issues of life: moral cowardice, indecision at critical moments, a desire to have one's own way, inability to cooperate, have shattered the hopes of millions. They have wrecked their prospects of success. To eliminate these mental handicaps is the first move for all who wish to aim high. Success depends upon adopting a true course, upholding what is just and right in thought and action. Adherence to a principle is most essential. Success is not a creature of circumstance, nor a game of chance, nor luck, for not until the golden rule is the basis of commercial activity can we be in harmony with the principle, which is, by the way, the golden rule, I did a whole discussion on it, and I'll put a link in the description, is do unto others as you wish done unto yourself. The outer world is a reflection of your inner world. All of this is a result of evolving thought. Thought is the inner world. It governs the inner world. And even if five sensory data denies the evolved thought, we stay persistent in the evolved thought till it externalizes as the interpretation of the five sensory data, which is then in contribution and related to our desired outcome, what we want to create, our definite chief aim. And so we go about this from a place of cause and effect reflection, effect in the outer world and the cause within. Through obedience and discipline of evolution of thought within, we evolve to higher states of consciousness. Finally, we say, never leave till tomorrow that which you can do today, said Benjamin Franklin. The worst enemy you will encounter on your life's highway is within your own self. Its name is procrastination. Procrastination kills ambition. It gets one into the habit of indecision, which causes failure. Practice making your decisions clearly and promptly. Take care of the little questions that come to you, and they will automatically take care of the other big questions should they arise. Thus, to keep with this truth and understanding that procrastination is one of the only enemies that we face, we apply the laws, we commit to it. We go back to this discussion and commit to applying it to, in part and in whole, to your purpose, towards your definite chief aim. Reflect back on the video. Watch it over and over again as you take notes and apply to creating what you desire, releasing from yourself the programming and beliefs and anything that denies the expectation of your desired outcome. If you want a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.